Yes, Father. Yes.
Check. Hello. Hello, for Sebastian. Can you hear me? You have to unmute and talk.
Father Kurian, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, for Sebastian. Yes.
Am I audible to you?
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, nice meeting you. Nice
Okay,
meeting
okay.
you.
Yeah, you
After
too.
after Masai Mara, this is the first time we meet again, huh?
Uh, yeah, yes. Are we going to start, or shall I just check my presentation whether it works?
I think you can go ahead. Father George is around or what?
Yes, Father, I am very much here. We are about
Good
to
morning,
begin.
Father Joshi.
Good morning, Father Sebastian. Good morning.
Yes.
We will just begin exact at 9 o'clock.
Great.
Yeah. Father Kurian, yes, you are audible and visible. Fine.
Is that clear? For Sebastian?
Yes, it's clear, Father.
Yeah.
Clear, Father.
Okay.
Clear.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Major.
Yeah.
We shall begin. Yes.
Thank you, Mother. Today is the day we begin to learn to look through the eyes of others, to find out and experience what the world is like for them. It is also the day we grow bigger than our differences and offer to everyone, regardless of historical rights and wrongs, a friendly welcome and outstretched hand. A very good morning to all. I, Dr. Major Joseph, on behalf of Samvaad, welcome you all on the occasion of Foundation Day celebration on Chavara Jayanti to a panel discussion on family wellness. We have been taught in our traditions of culture and rich heritage that prayer is a spiritual communication between man and God. It is also an invocation of blessing. We surrender ourselves to the Supreme Almighty for His grace. And when the words of praise are in the form of a song, then it becomes more beautiful to the soul. So let's join in listening to a prayer song and be part of that divine grace.
ओंकार रूप तव दर्शनम सृष्टि मुकुटे तव दर्शनम चलाचल भूतेषु तव दर्शनम पवित्रतया देव दर्शनम देव दर्शनम देव दर्शनम देव दर्शनम.
It was indeed a privilege to carry everything to God in the form of this beautiful prayer song. Taking further our today's program, I would like to welcome the key members of the day. Reverend Dr. Father Benny Joseph, CMI, Provincial Superior of Marthoma Province, Canada, who would be presiding the inaugural ceremony with his keynote address. A hearty welcome, Dr. Father Benny. The moderator of the discussion, Reverend Dr. Sebastian Putten, President of Association of Psychological Counselors and Animators. A very warm welcome, Father Sebastian.
Thank you. Thank you.
With words of gratitude, I would like to welcome Reverend Dr. Father Benny Tattail, CMI, Provincial Superior of Bijnor Province. Reverend Dr. Father Kurian Kachapalli, CMI, President DVK Bengaluru, and Dr. Nirmala Almeida, Consultant Psychologist and Psychotherapist, Mumbai. Without your gracious presence and your precious time, this discussion would not be possible. Welcome once again. I, on behalf of Samvaad, extend my hearty welcome to all the participants who have shown interest to be part of today's event. I would like to say a few words about Samvaad. Samvaad is a center for dialogue, counseling, and psychotherapy, Masala Varda, launched on 10th Feb 2018 on the auspicious occasion of birthday of Saint Kuriakos Elias Chavara, founder of first indigenous religious congregation of Indian Catholic Church, the Carmelites of Mary Immaculate, and patron of Samvaad. Samvaad takes inspiration from the life and works of Saint Chavara, who championed for the cause of families and communities. Samvaad, which means dialogue, derives its name from the deep conviction that the entire universe is dialogical in existence. For dialogue brings healing, wholeness, and beauty. At Samvad, effort is being made to take differences towards amicable understanding and greater connectedness is achieved through constructive dialogue. Samvad is situated in a pristine and serene campus at Varda, which is rich with various religious traditions and spiritual paths, thus becoming a vibrant example of dialogical existence, peace, harmony among individuals and communities. Samvad conducts various seminars and workshops for teachers, students, parents, youth, and married couples, catering to different issues faced by them in day to day life. Another program offered by Samvad is a 6-month diploma in counseling and psychotherapy. During the lockdown period, when person to person contact was under restriction, Samvad offered services called Phone In for Healing. Samvad feels privileged and blessed to be the instrument in the hands of Almighty by doing various services for the wellness of humanity. Family is the basic unit of the society and it is the single most important agent of shaping and molding the individual human person. But the recent times have witnessed family getting distorted and degenerated in alarmingly disturbing proportion. It is in this context Samvad organizes this panel discussion on family wellness on Chavara Jayanti. Saint Chavara was a great visionary, a saintly priest, humanitarian, and social reformer. His counsel to families, known as Chavrul Testament, an insightful and down to earth document, offers practical direction to families in leading a God fearing as well as socially commendable life. This panel discussion, our panelists will be expressing their views and wisdom based on perspectives regarding family wellness. Now I take the opportunity to introduce our honorable chief guest, Dr. Father Benny Joseph CMI. Dr. Benny is the provincial superior of Marthoma province, Chanda. He is the vice principal and professor at SP Law College, Chandrapur. Dr. Benny also has to his credit of publishing a number of books. With these words of introduction, I request Dr. Benny to inaugurate the panel discussion and deliver the keynote address. Over to you, respected Father Benny.
Thank you, Dr. Major. I hope I am audible to you. Am I audible to you?
Yes, Father. Yes, very
Yes,
much.
you are.
Okay, very good morning, dear friends. Today, February 10, we celebrate the birthday of St. Kuryakos Elias Chavara, the founder of CMI congregation, which runs Samvaad, the counseling center at Wardha. 3 years ago on this day, Samvaad took its birth. I am very happy to know that Samvaad is organizing a panel discussion on family wellness to mark its third birthday on this day, when we celebrate the birthday of St. Chavara, who could very well be called the champion and prophet of family. I wish all the best for this panel discussion, and I am sure it will be a good opportunity for us to hear from erudite speakers about what constitutes the wellness of a family. I would like to speak a few words on St. Kuryakos Elias Chavara. He is the first male saint of Indian Church, and he could achieve a lot within a short span of 66 years of his life, which many others could not even think of achieving them. He was able to do this because he was moved with the conviction that days on which you have not rendered any good to others will not be reckoned in the book of your life. This conviction prompted him to translate his ardent love of God into activities that benefit his fellow men. Love of God is put into practice through love of men. He lived a life keeping himself away from any dirt that would malign his character in any way. So much so, he could utter on his deathbed that I have never lost the baptismal grace. Saint Chavara had the guts to venture into a lot of innovative ways for the people, benefit of the people of that time. This he could do because he preferred to travel the less trodden path. Nothing could stop him if he felt that what he is doing is to benefit the fellow man and bringing glory to God. He strongly believed that come what may, as long as the Almighty is on his side, he will achieve the desired end. He had a strong conviction that if he did his part well, the rest will be taken care of by God. That may be the reason when he was ready to visit even a patient who was suffering from smallpox. In those days, it was highly contagious and fatal. To people who prevented him visiting this patient, he said, now it is my duty to take care of this patient, this person. God will take care of me. One of the most important areas that Saint Chavara paid a lot of attention is family. He believed that family is the most fundamental and important unit of a society. He defined family as the image of heaven on earth, where members live together by the bond of blood and affection, duly respecting and obeying parents, living peacefully before God and people, seeking eternal salvation according to each one's proper state of life. If we analyze this definition, we find that the strength of a family is not in wealth, not in power, or any other material objects. The strength of a family lies in the relationship the members have. It is bond constituted by blood and affection. Absence of blood relation is as dangerous as absence of affection in a family, especially in this modern era where people or families are after biotech methods like surrogacy, cloning, and other artificial methods. Saint Chavara's visionary outlook about true family is remarkable in today's context. Salvation and peace of each member should be the ultimate aim of a family. But this, in today's world, is the rarest thing. The intimacy and love among the family members determine the potency of the family. Saint Chavara held a deep conviction that in this world of tears, torn by pain and suffering, the greatest consolation is the membership and in a family where love, order, and peace reign. He always held that the stronghold and mainstay of a person is his family. But he was anxious not to let the joy of the family be lost through the negligence of its members and by irresponsible parenting. Hence, he advises that the blessing and honor of a family consist in its peaceful existence without quarrels. I think in this modern world, there is a need to go through the wisdom of Saint Chavra to mend the wrongs that have happened in the family life due to erosion of moral values and failures in parenting. Looking into the importance of good parenting, he has brought out a book which is titled The Testament of a Good Father. This book could be considered as the charter of an ideal family. He wrote this book because the primary duty of parents is to take care of the health of the children, the physical, mental, and spiritual health of the children. I quote from him: Parents, remember that it is your primary duty and responsibility to bring up your children. Children are the precious gift from God, and nurturing them properly is the greatest challenge to a family. It is indubitable that children ought to be brought up as God's progeny, pious and God fearing. The book that he has written shows that how important family is. Good families create good society. This insightful and down to earth document offers practical directions to families in leading a God fearing as well as socially commendable life. Even today, this is a reality that society's health depends on the health of the family. I think in this context, Samvaad's effort in organizing this panel discussion is apt and a befitting way of celebrating its third birthday. With these few words, I declare open the panel discussion on family wellness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Father Benny, for your inspiring and encouraging words. Before handing over the further proceedings to the moderator of panel discussion, let me introduce him. He is Reverend Father Dr. Sebastian Puttan, PhD in Clinical Psychology from Manila, Philippines. He is the International President of Association of Psychological and Educational Counselor, Asia Pacific. His accomplishments include counseling and guidance for youth and adults in formal and informal settings. He has presented various papers on international and national forum and co-authored the Spiritual Awakening book published by CBCI, Commission for Youth. He has translated and edited a book comprising of all the teachings of Catholic Church on youth in Malayalam. Over to you, respected Father.
Thank you, Dr. Majo, for introducing me. A very good morning to you all, my dear friends, and namaste. I bow before all of your spirit and spirituality. I'm so happy and honored, in a way, very much privileged to visit Samvaad virtually today on the birthday of Saint Kuriakos Elias Chavara. I wish all who are participating in this panel discussion the grace of the day. Let me take this opportunity, first of all, to congratulate Samvad for organizing wonderful sociological, theological, and also psychological insights and inputs and trainings for all people from all walks of life. I personally congratulate Father Joshi, who is very vibrant, very dynamic, very hardworking, and also intellectually erudite because I knew him as a person from Philippines for almost 4 years. For Joshi, congratulations. And on this Foundation Day, I appreciate all the good works you're doing with your team for the Indian church and also Indian society
Thank you, Father.
in a very
Thank you
special
very much.
way in the name of APECA and all our colleagues. You are a very strong member of our association. I bring all their greetings to you on this day. Friends, we are joining together for this panel discussion on a very auspicious day of the birth of a great person ever the world has seen, especially from India, contributed to the liberation of the whole world in a very special way for the families. As it is rightly introduced by the provincial Dr. Benny, the book, the message, the precepts, and the person of Saint Chavara is still the best model to emulate for all of us who are theologians, who are psychologists, who are therapists. I was just going through the testament of a loving Father Chavaru, both in Malayalam and English. And before all these modern day family therapists, including Minuchin and Pawan Vijay Satyar, Saint Chavara has sown the seed of all these psychological insights into this very brief book. A very deep reading will reveal to us there are a lot of psychological insights itself in it. For example, parenting style of Baumrich, authoritarian, authoritative, neglective parenting. It is well defined and directed in the Testament. So I'm so happy. I'm personally motivated by Chavara, Saint Chavara, because I was fortunate to do my philosophical and theological studies in BVK, and also a lot of associates in CMI congregation. And I'm baptized by a CMI, a very old zealous missionary for Sargis. So I take this opportunity as a homecoming also. And with these introductory words about Saint Chavara and also about Samvaad, I would like to introduce the theme of the day, family wellness. Family wellness means that everyone in the family has healthy mental functioning, productive activities, and fulfilling relationships with one another and people outside of the family. Family wellness allows everyone in the family to adapt and bond together to help one another through change and difficult times. At least we can notice 7 dimensions of family wellness: physical, emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual, environmental, occupational. And among comprising all these dimensions, Dr. Joshi has put 3 themes for the panelists and picked up the best professionals, best panelists. And I'm very happy to introduce the first panelist, Dr. Dr. Benny Tetail is the Provincial Superior of CMI St. John's Mons Bijnor Uttarakhand. He has his Bachelor of Theology from DVK, Bangalore, and MA in Biblical Exegesis from Catholic University Louvain, Belgium. He has his doctorate in Biblical Exegesis from Catholic University Louvain, Belgium. He served as residential faculty at Samanya Theology College, Bhopal, and as Dean of Studies at Samanya Theology College. He is the editor-in-chief of the Herald Lee's Chavara Journal of Theology and edited 10 of his volumes on various topics personally. He is the program coordinator of Punodaya Mission Training Center, Bhopal. He has 9 books to his credit, and the most important being In Spirit and Truth, an exegetical study of John, and a theological investigation of the replacement theme in the fourth gospel. Second one, spiritual insertion in the Ganga Kshetra. Third, God Talk in Context, a North Indian theological experiment. He has authored 46 articles on various topics in national and international periodicals and books. As a well known speaker and as an expert in biblical theology and mission, he is invited to present papers in India and abroad very often. As an erudite scholar, he has contributed to the field of knowledge his unique approaches and insights. Father Benny, on this today's topic for today's panel discussion is Saint Chavara, a champion of family. He has titled his talk as Heaven, Heavenly Heaven and with Dancing Demons. So he'll be speaking about that. The very first sentence in the introduction of Chavarul, Testimony of a Living Father, family is depicted as the image of heaven. As we know, it is said in the word family, 6 letters. If you remove M and Y, we will get the word fail. Means from family, if you remove M, denotes mother, and Y, which denotes youth, family is a failure. Father Dr. Benny is concentrating and focusing on a subject very relevant for young people and their parents and their caretakers today. It needs to be cared with the mother's heart to grow before God, before man, and in states and wisdom. Means physiological, psychological, spiritual, and social growth. And Dr. Benny is focusing on sibling sexual abuse, role of media, social situation, the role of parents, and present this paper on behalf of all of you and on behalf of Samvaad's director, Dr. Joshi. Dr. Benny, I extend you a very warm welcome to this panel discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Sebastian. I'm happy to join all of you in this webinar. Reverend Dr. Benny Mukhalil, Provincial Superior, Reverend Dr. Father Kurian, President DVK, Dr. Nirmala Almeida, Father Sebastian Puten himself, and Joshi, my friend and director of Samvaad. Foundation Day greetings and Founders Day wishes to all of you. As I was panning through the members of the participants, I and Joshi had told me that there would be at least a few people who wouldn't know Saint Kuriakos Elias Chavara. Maybe the first part of my little expose would be a repetition and commonplace for most of you because from the list of the participants, I see that most of them are familiar. But at least for the sake of those who are unfamiliar with Saint Kuriakos Elias Chavara and as per the advice of the director, Father Joshi, I would like to place before you the person of Chavara and then come to my topic. Chavara, Saint Kuriakos Elias Chavara, was a visionary with a mission that made the very program, the webinar that we are participating in possible. His mission brought the organizers of this webinar where they are. It is that which made even Samvaad, in the auspices of which we are gathered, possible and made what it is. Saint Kuriakos was a social activist who walked, as it is often said, much ahead of his time, who made his followers bring about social change, educational change, familial change, or on which we will be talking extensively today, and the print media proliferation in the society reality. He was a spiritual leader who initiated a religious movements, spiritual movements for men and women, who invited all those who would want to listen to him to a Darshana Bhavan, where you will be able to have the darshan of God open for all people, all in all walks of life, in spirituality. Or you could even read it in the line of a philosophy where you are involved and immersed in darshan shastra. And that is what takes me to Darshana Institute of Philosophy in the very city where Samvaad also is situated, where we have got this coupling of a spiritual reality and philosophical reality brought together in that institute. All these would have been envisaged long ago by Saint Kuriakos Chavara, whose birthday we celebrate today. The richness of his contribution to the society could be fathomed in various facts that we are going to consider. Look at the rudimentary printing press that he would have made, which brought about a daily that is relevant and in currency in the modern day. A daily newspaper, numerous printing and publishing houses, which led to innumerable publications by his own followers, the members of the two religious societies, religious communities that he founded for men and women. The one Sanskrit school that he envisaged in his time, which was a pilot project for university colleges, many of them, medical colleges, engineering colleges, nursing colleges, physical education colleges, B.Ed colleges, polytechnic colleges, research centers, and numerous schools from nursery to higher secondary. All these that are run by the communities that he founded, would have been from the visionary that Chavara, Saint Kuriakos Chavara, was. And now we come to the social engagement that is one of the facets of his personality, just one of the facets. This social engagement that Saint Chavara had in his time would bring us to our focus today, and that is the family. And I am to present to you Saint Kuriakos Chavara as the champion of families, and how he has seen, or he has been seen as a champion of families. Reverend Father Benny and Father Sebastian touched on the chapel, which is a testament of a loving father that he bequeathed to his society, his community, to the families that were in his care as a legacy. Family, as Father Sebastian said, is the smallest unit of the society, and through this little expose as instruction to these families, he wanted to bring, Saint Kyriakos Elias Chavara wanted to bring social renewal by means of the renewal of families. And that is what he had in mind. It is, first of all, a social instruction, a set of social instructions given in order to empower the families through the empowerment of women, which would be heading the families in a practical way. And then we would speak about the various pieces of literature through which Saint Kyriakos Elias Chavara was, in addition to the testament of the loving Father, was trying to inculcate a kind of a healthy familial spirit in the society. Now, today, we have just crossed the 150th anniversary of the penning down of this great legacy that we have received from this great man. That is the testament of the loving Father. And that is what brings me to the reflection of the heavenly haven of dancing demons. Certainly, Saint Kyriakos Elias Chavara envisaged all the families as a heaven on earth. But there is a small little caution that is veiled, that is given in a veiled manner in the Testament, and that is what I want to concentrate on. As I said, it has been about just a little over 150 years since the publication of this said testament, that is the testament of a loving father to families. The booklet was written as a pastoral instruction that was given, practical instructions, practical set of instructions that were given to the families. Now, his teaching on family is succinctly articulated in his introduction. I repeat, although Father Benny said it, it begins with a precise and meaningful description of a family. A good family is the image of heaven. There, those related by bonds of blood and love live together, respecting and obeying parents, peacefully before God and people, seeking eternal salvation according to their state of life. Now, there is a vertical relationship that has been made, that has been effected in the family with God, and the horizontal relationship effected in the family between the members of the family. The testament is described as a code which concern 24 precepts of a family life in general, followed by 16 guidelines on upbringing of children, just on the topic of the upbringing of children. He gives a beautiful definition of the family that is followed by a theoretical and practical set of instructions. The body of the letter ends with an exhortation to children to honor their parents and never to cause any pain to them. Now, this is what relates our modern attitude of our modern children to their parents, which would result in numerous old age homes, orphanages, and those institutions which we lovingly call ashrams, where old people find themselves. And it is in order to save the society from these kinds of loving homes in inverted commas that Saint Chavara would instruct the children in this particular manner. The instructions given in the Testament are biblical as a Christian he was, theological as a priest as he was, and above all, highly pastoral as a man he was. Now, let us concentrate on what this caution that he gave in the Testament was about. Kuriakos Elias Chavara was passing a veiled reference to a possibility of a deviated sexual relationship when he instructed his parishioners, his people, that boys and girls who have reached a certain age should not be allowed to share a room together to sleep in. Very poignant, friends. Was he referring to an existing problem in his community, or was he just referring to the possibility of the above mentioned danger that he would see in the future? We do not know. We do not have any kind of literature from his times that either mentions or deals with such a dangerous subject. However, today's experiences that we have in the communities, in our communities, show that this instruction of Saint Kuriakos to the family is very relevant today. Here, we want to look at how this heavenly haven of the family is turned into a kind of a floor of dancing demons. What is the problem that we are hinting at? Sibling sexual abuse is the least recognized form of incest. In the victims of a sibling abuse, the victims of a sibling abuse usually remain unseen or unheard. It is a deviated sexual relationship between children of the same parents or adopted children. Some siblings are victimized, whereas there are also cases in which a pair of siblings engage in forbidden activities willingly for the lack of knowledge or the joy that is naturally part of this kind of an activity. The contributing factors would be fragmented family, lack of education, and socio-cultural characteristics. These are the reasons. Low socio-economic status and lack of education about puberty and sexuality of children can be also problematic. Adding fragmentation of families into the equation makes the problem very severe and dramatic, as it can be observed in several modern cases. Now, let us look at a small social situation as an experience. In the boarding houses for girls, at least in one out of 2 dozen in a group who were given counseling, two of them were helped to handle the after effects of the childhood sexual experiments with their brothers at home before they came to the boarding house. Both of them were distressed as they were narrating their story. I am cutting the whole story short for the lack of time. And see, this is only a tip of the iceberg. And with this, we are going to look at the literature in vogue in our society in the modern day and age and see whether this is just an aberration, just an anomaly, or is it widespread? So we are looking at the literature that mirrors the society. This discourse has got into a stream of fiction and films with shades of clinical, sociological, and criminal genre. They present an idea that it is unequivocally harmful. This literature speaks to literary fiction's needs on the one hand for twisted romance auspices for the purpose of the market. But a more detailed look into these pieces of literature will give us an idea of how the writers explore such unlikely or likely possibilities. I want to introduce to you three writings. First of all, we have Tabitha Zulsuma's Forbidden, then Donna Tartt's The Secret History, and finally Pauline Melville's The Ventriloquist's Tale. These show how this logic of sibling incest as a shady romance works in practice. We also need to, in the modern times, bring in the media and its impact on families and the society. The parents will do well, friends, if they get to know the rating of the video games, movies, and television shows that the children are exposed to these days. Provision of appropriate alternatives is an important part of avoiding exposure to the easily available sexual content in the media. Our children are exposed to media to which they are underprepared. As a result, the effects of early exposure of our children to sexual content in these domains have disastrous consequences. Children as young as 8 or 9 are coming across these sexually explicit materials, although the negative effects of the use of the internet have not been fully known. There is ample reason to believe that exposure to such sexual content may have undesirable consequences. Now, the early exposure to objectionable material is also a problem. Now, I would like, I've got only 1 more minute, so come to, I know Father Sebastian is getting jittery there. Thank you, I can see you there. Now, look at the nature and the effects of the issue. Many youngsters carry the secret of their experiences into adulthood, and they remain confused about issues of mutuality and consequently maintain this confusion, guilt, shame, and low esteem, even as they reach their adulthood. Such experiences are a block to an enjoyable family life later on. Now come back to Chavara and the Testament. The parents are invited by Chavara to face the reality head on. The sex play in children is very common. About half of the adults, as you are participating in this webinar, remember engaging in it when they were children. Not all people who had engaged in such games are harmed by it. However, one should neither oversimplify it nor blow it out of proportion. Although it is not in a very detailed manner, when Chavara tells his people not to let girls and boys sleep in the same room when they have reached a certain age, it was his way of making families aware of the problem and thus saving the society from a moral danger they were prone to. He had perceived that an increasing public awareness of the problem would help children and their parents to avoid the damage that can be done to them, their families, and the society in the future. And with this, I come to the conclusion of my expose. Let us pray that our parents, our families, and our children are saved through the intercession of Saint Kyriakos and through his exhortation for the families. Thank you very, very much. God bless all of you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Benny. It was a very, very wonderful presentation. Your expose was of excellent nature, very clear. You have cut across a strong message. We're all called here on earth to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy. And you have spoken particularly about pinpointing the legacy that Saint Chavara left for the whole world. As a pastor, as a psychologist, as an educator, as a media person, as a real administrator. And it is said that small faith may take you to heaven, but great faith is needed to bring down heaven to earth. That's what Saint Chavara did. That's our challenge, our mission, and our occasion. Just one thing to note and to add of that, Sanskrit school was not to just India or country. Even Dr. Ambedkar had to go to Germany to learn Sanskrit, but he prepared an opportunity to learn Sanskrit from all caste, creed, code, and community people. And the message in the Chavel, in the Testament, is really brought out an immediate issue of counseling, psychotherapeutic intervention. There is one population that is young people with the sibling incest. Young people, you are strong. The word of God abides in you. You have won over the evil. Holy Bible speaks about that. As a conclusion to the expose of Dr. Benny, I would like to invite all of us, let's bring out ex ducere to lead out the best strength and goodness in young people as mothers and midwives, especially in the model of Saint Chavara. He speaks about love in one of the precepts, and he speaks about work. It is what Sigmund Freud also taught us. Leben und arbeiten. To love and to work. These two are the most needed characteristics of a normal, human, psychologically well-minded person. So, once again, friends, let's give a big applause for Father Benny for this wonderful presentation. Friends, our next speaker is Dr. Kurian Kachapalli, who speaks about the changes and challenges of families in our modern day context. Dr. Kurian Kachapalli is the president of Chavara Vidya Kshetram, Bangalore, where which is my alma mater, and I'm very proud to say that all seeds of psychological insights are absorbed from there. He's a Catholic religious priest belonging to CMI. He has his bachelor's philosophy and master's philosophy from DPK Bangalore, licentiate in philosophy from University of Louvain, Belgium, and PhD in philosophy from Catholic University of Louvain, Belgium. He started his career as a teacher at Guna MBA teaching English literature and taught philosophy at Dasana, Warda, and PDK Bangalore. He served as youth animator in Bangalore Archdiocese. He's a visiting professor in a number of national and international universities at home and abroad. At present, Professor Dr. Richard is the president of Chavara Jayanti. He has authored several books, including Mysticism Without Bounds and Mystic Music in World Religions. The most popular books include The God of Love and The Divine Partners. He has presented more than 60 scholarly papers at international, national conferences and seminars. He served as a source person for several conferences. He has proved also his expertise as an excellent organizer of international conferences like 7th International Whitehead Conference, Christ University, Bangalore. Dr. Kochapalli was the chief organizer of International Philosophy Conference in Bangalore held 2009. About 500 philosophers and intellectuals from Asia, Africa, Europe, and United States attended the 7th International Conference, jointly organized by Chavara College, Bangalore, Rice University, Bangalore, and International Process Network. The second major conference was on mysticism without bounds, and the chief guest was Dalai Lama, and bounds of ethics in a globalized world, in which delegates and representatives from 70 plus countries took part. On behalf of the Samvaad and Dr. Joshi and all of us present, I'm happy and privileged and honored to welcome Dr. Kurian to present his paper on changes and challenges. Dr. Kurian, it is your time. Most happy welcome.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Sebastian. Am I audible, please?
Yes, you are.
What about my sharing of the slide?
Slide is visible. Very good.
Okay. Yes, सबको जय यीशु,
Yes.
Namaste, and very good morning. Dear Dr. Sebastian and the panelist, Dr. Benny and Dr. Almeida, and my dear friend and one of my best students, Father Joshi, and the participants, most cordial welcome. The topic I am planning to discuss together with you all is changes and challenges of modern family, a phenomenological appraisal. Don't worry with the high-sounding words like a phenomenological appraisal. I know it's a vast topic, and we can't do justice road. Then the traffic police stopped her and said, "Madam, you can't do it." But she was a bit irritated, and she asked the traffic policeman, "Do you know who I am?" The policeman said, "Sorry, ma'am, I don't know." She said, "I am the free citizen of the British Empire." The policeman replied, "Madam, sorry, I did not know that you are the free citizen of the British Empire. But madam, see the other people who are riding. They are also free citizen of the British Empire." Now the question is, if your freedom clashes with others' freedom, what will be the outcome? Therefore, the conclusion we want to derive from this episode is there is no question of absolute freedom. Freedom is something like a contract. Now, these two episodes, on the one hand, while we talk about family, we have to be very careful and we cannot be careless or carefree because freedom is not something absolute. Now, a word about phenomenology. Phenomenology is a narrative of our lived experience, what we see, what we taste, what we smell, what we touch, and after all, what we lived. This is what St. John speaks about at the beginning of his epistle. I declare what we have seen, what we have heard, and what we have touched, etc. And that is phenomenological. In that context, I would say we all have this phenomenological experience because we lived in a family, we enjoyed our family, we observe what is family is all about, and we know pretty lot about families. Now, the more suspicious thing or most conspicuous thing, what we observe is change. Life is changing. Here may I bring the very famous saying of Heraclitus, who said, "You cannot step into the same river twice, because water is flowing, water is changing, so too our life is changing constantly." Let's come to the topic, changes in family. Here take uh, support from the World Family Map, which made a very extensive and comprehensive study on family trends of about 70 countries. And its conclusion was this: irrespective of the region, the family is undergoing major changes. What are some of the changes? In the family structure, in the family socioeconomics, in the family process, and family culture. My humble attempt will be to capture some of these important changes as it is presented and studied by World Family Map. Now, the first, now you can see I am making a contrast between then and now because the topic is changes in modern family. The first obvious change we see is a change in the size of family. In the past, we speak about joint family, extended family, larger family, but today people talk about nuclear family. From my own experience, I am coming from a family of faith, whereas my sister got married, my brother got married, they have just two kids. Because today the dictum is hum do, hamare do, and tomorrow hum do, hamare yek. So you see the difference. Of course, there are reasons why family is small. They would say economic factors, then social factors, then educational factors, then even biological factor. They say there is a decrease in fertility. Whatever be the reason, what we see today is a kind of nuclear family, maximum one or two children. That is the major difference. Now, second, marriage, the very dynamics of marriage. In the past, we all know it was all arranged marriage. It was a family affair where papas and mamas and siblings and neighbors and aunts and aunties, everybody took part. It's a kind of contract between a family and a family, maybe a village and another village, a society and other society. But today, what we see is most love marriages and initiated by two individuals, maybe with the consent of the family or even against. Recently, I had my own experience. One of my cousins fell in love and they were very particular to get married, although the partner was not from the same faith. Finally, his father had to somehow concede to that. Of course, it took time for mutual understanding, discussion, dialogue, and finally, when he found that this could be the best. So you see the change from a family to family relationship, it came to an individual to individual relationship. Now, third, the very nature of relationship in family. We all remember when, for example, when I say young baby, of course, whatever father said, that is the last word. Because we follow the legacy of the patriarchal society where male or papa is the boss. But today, that concept is under scrutiny and question. Today, people talk about we all are equals. Therefore, egalitarian family, papa and mama together, or papa and mama with the children, they make discussion. In some of the houses, is mama more than papa today make the decisions. So that's the third major change. Now, a fourth one, this is something which we have to keep in mind. You see, there is a lot of change in the religious orientation. In the past, when it is evening, whether it is a Christian family or Hindu family, in Hindu family, I have seen they light a candle and they have special prayers. But in Christian family, there used to be a family prayer which Chavara used to refer. Even in my own house, my father was very particular. Whoever be the guest, couple of times we are the guest in the person of bishops. But when it is 8 o'clock evening, he would say, okay, let's begin our prayer. But what happens today? Today, that prayer has been replaced by maybe family entertainment, watching TV, or some comedy shows, some serial, and some are addicted with the serials. But today, even still, the new gen may not be watching TV, but they play with their own mobile, smartphone, iPhone, iPad, etc. So this is the major change happening today in the society. Now, a fifth change. In the past, family was xenocentric. That means common. The entire family was taken into account. Whereas today it is philocentric. What the child says, that is the norm. You see, look at how the mama kneels down and begs to the baby because baby was very particular about. I have heard so many stories in the school. Even a couple of years ago, there was even a suicide. A baby, not even a child studying in our +2, was not even 18. And he asked his papa, I want a motorbike. Papa said, wait, once you become 18, I will get a motorbike for you. But baby was not happy. He went and committed suicide. You see, therefore, today it's very difficult to talk about who is the key player in a family. Now, a sixth change could be the conflict, what we call the generation gap between the parents and the children. In the past, because there was one boss, that's papa or mama, then children were somehow followed what has been said. But today, there is a lot of gap. Papas and mamas would say, we fail to understand our children. Children would say, papa and mama don't listen to us. So there is a mutual blame game. Now, who will be the winner? Who will be the loser? God alone knows. But it's a problem. Now, the last change which I want to highlight is the family function transferring from family context to outside the family. We may recall in traditional family, procreation, birth took place at home. Education, papas and mamas played a major role. Recreation in our own surroundings, in our own campus. And then sick people we took care of. But today in the modern family, what do we see? Most of the birth take place in the hospitals or maternity homes. And education begin from pre-KG, then KG schools, and recreation mostly outside. Parish clubs, social clubs, you see peer group clubs. So therefore, there's a shift in terms of recreation, education, recreation, and taking care of the sick. Today, as Father Benny rightly said, a lot of old age homes, you see, to take care of the elderly and the sick. This is something what we see today. So these are the different changes we come across in today's society. Just a recap. The first change, size of family. Second, in marriage dynamics. Third, relationships. Fourth, religious orientation. And fifth, family types. Sixth, parent youth conflicts. And finally, transferring the family functions from the family context to outside family. Now, as we know, any changes would face challenges. Why? Change calls for two important events of pain. Number one, the English phrase which became very popular because of Pope Francis, fly the nest. To leave the comfort zone is painful. Therefore, people are reluctant to change. Secondly, to perch on the alien, to land on the unknown is also painful. Only those who can endure the pain of flying the nest and perching on the alien, they will take up challenges in the proper way. Now, what are the challenges? I here take the help from the director of the Parenting Resource and Educational Work, Diana Wagenhals. She spells out some of the important challenges in family. Now, the first one, according to her, to play a balancing act between the family affairs and the career. You see, today more than in the past, most of the people are employed. Papa and mama, or husband and wife, and even elderly children. Therefore, the question is, how do you balance the family affairs, the duty at home, and your responsibilities in your office, in your company, in your college, in your school, wherever you are employed? You see, when you try to focus on one, definitely the other will suffer. Therefore, there is a dilemma, there is a tension in the minds of the people, how to strike a balance. This happens also with the kids, the school-going kids. Ask some of the teachers and parents, they will tell you how overburdened today the children are in the school, typically symbolized by the big bag they carry on their back to the school. You see, in addition to schoolwork, there is regular classes, there are a lot of homeworks, tuitions, extracurricular activities, etc., etc. And then how to make a balance. You see, they hardly get time to go for a swim, to play, to do household things together, to sing and dance. There's no time because they're overloaded with their schedules. Now, what's the way out? Perhaps we should think together and make free space for family affairs along with the duty or responsibility of office. So this challenge to balance the responsibility of the family and the career, that is perhaps one of the biggest challenges. Second one, effective discipline. I don't know you all heard about the difference between discipline and self-discipline. Discipline means you push somebody from outside and put inside and lock from outside. You push somebody inside and lock from outside. Typical example, a prison. This is discipline. Now, what is self-discipline? You go inside yourself and lock from inside. That is self-discipline. Now, there is a tension between discipline, self-discipline, and family. And it's not very easy today to discipline children. Because as I told you, because of change of the size of family, you have only one child or maximum two children. Therefore, you don't want to take any risk of giving any kind of embarrassment, pain. Therefore, you never dare to say no because you are afraid what could be the consequences. But psychologists would say sometimes to say no is better response than to avoid saying always yes, yes, yes. Now, psychologists would give there are different types of discipline. One is positive A, gentle reminder, boundary based. Then you have behavior modification discipline, and finally emotion coaching. So these are some of the tested effective discipline methods.
Excuse me, Father Korean.
Yes, yeah,
Sorry to intervene.
yes,
Your
okay.
slides are not moving.
No?
Your slides are not moving. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Now it's okay. Yes.
now it's okay. Okay.
Yes, Father.
Okay,
Thank
now,
you.
yes. Now we are speaking about, okay, I think, yes.
Come on.
Okay, can you see this effective discipline?
Yes.
Okay, these are the 5 methods proposed by some of the psychologists. The positive way or the positive discipline, the gentle reminder, then boundary based, then behavior modification and emotion coaching. It will differ from situation to situation and family to family. There is no definitive rule. Now, a third change is what we call ensuring quality education. Today, all parents want their children to be highly educated, especially they should be given quality education. So, 3 main concerns when we speak about education. Number 1, money to get admission, to pay the fee, and to meet all the expenses. Now, you know the privatization of the education is very costly. I know pretty well because we're living in a campus where we have all kinds of education, even up to PhD. Therefore, we know how expensive the study can be. Now, whenever you send somebody to a school or a college or university, parents always dream about success, doing well. Always we wish come off in flying colors. You see why? So that they may get a better job. That is the purpose. So therefore, making money, success in the schools, and hunting a job, these are the great challenges of modern families. Now, another important challenge is the very family structure. As you all know, we can talk about different types of families. Number 1, we have 2-parent family. Then we have single parent family. When even single parent, we have teen parent. Then we have foster parent. Now, which one is best? I don't know. But one thing is sure, that 2-parent family is slowly coming to a kind of end, especially in Europe and USA. Whereas in India, thank God, we are still strong in family bonding. Now, what are some of the problems with a single parent family? According to the sociologist, most of the time they fall short of money. As a single parent, if you do not have a financial security, it can put a lot of stress on your mind. Secondly, being overloaded with work. Being a single parent, perhaps you have to do all the works of the family as well as the work of your office and take care of the child. So that will give added tension in your life. Also, feeling lonely. Although there may be a child or two children, but still you don't have any adult to relate, to reach out, unless you keep very good contact with, if you are an ex or with your neighbors, etc. But still, there are occasions you feel very lonely. Then another important problem they come across, the matter of distress is disciplining children can be a problem. You see, when you have one child, as I already said, you never say no. And in case you ought to say no, you don't know what will be the outcome, what will be the reaction, what will be the response. The child could even become rebellious. Then another important problem, negativity in your child. You try to please your child, but there comes a time where you can't. Then at that time, children may start blaming you, saying you are selfish, you are breaking up relationships, etc. Now, some of the problem associated with and the stress of teen parent family, teen parents normally they have no much savings. Secondly, most of them are unemployed and could be they are dropouts. And big problem is they don't have no. In many cases, they don't have acceptance from the family and society. Say no, we don't accept this system. Therefore, they lose their family and support from the family. Now, one of the problem which Father Benny also referred to, this is a very frequently occurring, the context of POXO, etc., abuse in family. Now, abuse can be mistreatment or neglect of others, such as child, spouse, elderly, the disabled, which can cause physical, emotional, and sexual harm. Now, surprisingly, the study reveals that most victims are abused by own people, like spouses, family members, dating partners, friends, and other acquaintances. And in their hands, victims struggle with the feelings of confusion, doubt, guilt, and shame. This is important. Guilt and shame, thereby they lose trust in the family members, in their kith and kin, and they feel helpless, powerless, lonely, and isolated. Another important issue is the financial crisis, especially in the context of COVID-19. As we know, COVID-19, due to lockdown and travel restriction and closing of the companies and factories, immense effect on all families, especially the middle class and the working class. Unemployment rate among the middle class rose very quickly. Many middle class employees worked in the financial sector was very badly hit. The working class also suffered, all the exodus. You see, when we started in March with the lockdown, people from all the cosmopolitan cities wanted to return to their hometown. And you could see the travail, the tribulations, the pain, the suffering, the hardship they took on the way. Now, the working class also suffered as some smaller firms and companies went bankrupt or laid off. Others cut down their staffing hours or reduced the number of. Now, in the public sector, there was also reduction on hiring new staff. And this made it difficult for young people to get their first job. You see, not only those who were employed, the new candidates were also were at loss because of this particular pandemic situation. As the effects of the financial crisis took hold, some companies froze wages, cut down on salary and bonus. Even in our own institution, we couldn't pay together, but we didn't cut down the salary. We decided to pay in installments instead of paying together. And many experts predict an increase in family breakdowns with higher divorce rates or separation or serious financial crisis leading to suicide. These are some of the great. I know there are so many other changes like addiction, pornography, then cyber related issues, addiction to social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. This I have not touched.
The Korean?
Yes, I will conclude.
Okay.
I will conclude. Yes, I am keeping my time. Yes, I conclude. You see, the first story I talked about. Remember, family is made up of glass. And if you don't play well, that ball may fall down and it will break. And that break will be indeed great, beyond repair, beyond recapturing again. Therefore, my dear friends and participants and scholars, let us handle family with care, love, concern, affection, and simply with love. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kurian, for your beautiful presentation about the changes and challenges. My freedom ends where my nose begins, and also handle with care. And you have pinpointed one by one each and every challenges and changes that we are all facing together. It is said that the Third World War is already began. It is a war against family and family values. So, on behalf of all participants, panelists, and the institute, I extend to you a hearty, heartfelt, warm gratitude for your wonderful presentation. Friends, we are breaking for 5 minutes after these two wonderful presentations and reserve your comments, your clarifications, and even your queries and write down. And we will have a session after the third presentation after 5 minutes. When all the presentations are over, you will have time. You can raise your queries, and first you may introduce yourself in one sentence, and you may put your question to the panelists specifically, and if it is general, they will take care of it. So let's break for 5 minutes. Let's warm up ourselves. Thank you, Dr. Kurian, once again. Wonderful.
During the break, we have a small presentation, a glance at the services of Samvaad. Yeah, please enjoy. This is how we began. We had the launch and inauguration of Samvaad exactly 3 years back on this very day, the day of Chavara Jayanti, February 10th, 2018. This is what Samvaad stands for. Wellness of body, mind and soul. Healing and wholeness for all, individuals and communities.
For Joshi, nothing is visible on the screen.
Pardon?
Are you presenting something? It's not visible on the screen.
Okay, let me try once again. Okay, Father Sebastian, you may please continue.
Thank you, Father Joshi, and congratulations again for enlightening us about the birth and growth of Samvaad, a place of dialogue, spiritual, emotional, and social healing. Our next presentation is on family therapy, strategies for hope and healing. Dr. Nirmala Almeida is presenting the paper for us. As we know, we are all waiting for vaccine, and we are in a mood of masks, soaps, and gaps. So we need to wear mask. Mask comes from persona. We all know personality. So the personality perspectives from a psychotherapeutic understanding will be presented by Dr. Nirmala Almeida, and also the vaccine. We need to take psychotherapy, and also there is a place also to wash our minds from all that really stresses us out. And also we need to have a social distance, emotional distance from others also. Dr. Almeida is a blend of a teacher, researcher, practitioner, and counselor trainer. She's an MA in clinical psychology and a PhD in psychology from the University of Mumbai in the area of rational emotive behavior therapy. She was an associate professor and head of the Department of Human Development, College of Home Science, Nirmala Nigetan for over 3 decades. Dr. Almeida has 38 years of experience in teaching BSc and MSc students, specializing in human development subjects, and has guided over 60 postgraduate students for their dissertation. She is also a university recognized PhD guide, and she has already guided many. Currently, she is a visiting faculty at the Service Institute of Counseling and Psychology, the College of Social Work, Namala Nagedan, the Department of Comprehensive Education, SIES College, and SVT College, SNDT University. She is also a consultant psychologist to schools, colleges, and corporate sector, is a counselor at St. Xavier's College, and has her own private practice. Being actively involved in research, she has made more than 75 presentations at both national and international events and is the recipient of 2 minor research grants from the University of Mumbai. She has to her credit 37 publications in reputed national and international journals and books and has received 12 research-related awards, 10 Best Paper Awards at the national level, and 2 positions of honor at the international level. She's a reviewer for the British Journal of Guidance and Counseling and an associate editor of the Indian Journal of Career and Livelihood Planning. She has been a member of the Board of Studies of several academic institutions. She has special interest in counseling and health psychology, and her passion for field is reflected in numerous workshops she has conducted on gestalt therapy, client-centered therapy, rational emotive behavior therapy, transactional analysis, cognitive behavior modification, family therapy. She's also a soft skill trainer and is focused on areas such as stress management, time management, communication effectiveness, and building up self-esteem. Her expertise in health psychology was sought for developing the psychological module for the National Diabetes Educator Program and training diabetics educators across the country. It is my honor to welcome Dr. Almeida you to the floor on behalf of Director Dr. Joshi and all the analysts and participants. Please, Dr. Nirmala Almeida.
Thank you so much. Father Joshi, can I be heard?
Yes, you can.
And can my screen be seen?
Yes, your Papa
yes,
is
your screen is
and can I also be seen? Can I be seen?
Yeah.
Father Joshi?
Yes, ma'am, you are seen. You are visible. Yes, you are visible.
Okay. All right. A very good morning to everyone. I would like to thank at the outset Father Joshi for giving me this opportunity to speak on a very relevant topic, family therapy, strategies for hope and healing. The original saying was, the family that plans together stays together. Then it changed to, the family that plays together stays together. And today, we say that the family that prays together stays together. What are the characteristics of healthy families? The first point is that there are clear boundaries in the family. Parents know they need to teach and they need to train their children. There are good emotional bonds within the family. The parents love each other, respect each other, and even if they have disagreements or conflicts, they don't draw the children into the same. Both parents as well as grandparents create relationships with children and grandchildren and nurture those relationships. They are deeply involved in the activities of their children and provide them with necessary support. There is open communication among all members. No one member is the spokesperson or the messenger or the interpreter. Conflict is allowed. Yes, people in the house can voice their disagreement. They can make mistakes because the beautiful part is conflict gets resolved. The family practices forgiveness and the family moves on. They spend quality time together. They express support. They experience intimacy. Family members have a deep commitment towards one another. All are focusing on family management. Even the smallest child in the family is given some task to perform so that he feels a valued member of that family. And above all, the family members have a shared spirituality, that is, praying and practicing forgiveness. But what is happening in real life? As a counselor, I get a lot of complaints from children and from youth. These are some of the illustrative complaints. My parents are so authoritarian and restrictive that I'm just waiting to leave the home. My parents fight all the time. I cannot concentrate on anything, including my studies. My mother is only interested in housework and entertaining guests. She's not involved in my life. My father is drunk most of the time. He's abusive, violent. We are so scared of him. Our parents are like social butterflies and highly, in inverted commas, religious, but only we know the true picture. And on the other hand, I have a lot of complaints from parents because I conduct a lot of parenting workshops, such as my child is almost never at home. I guess the home is a hostel for him where he just eats and sleeps. The abusive language our children use today in the home with parents and grandparents is shocking. My child just wants to be on the phone at all times. Requesting her to help out in household chores only elicits conflict and rebelliousness. My child comes home late at night, pays no heed to my curfew imposition. Well, children want things just at the drop of a hat. When they don't get it, they are depressed or aggressive. This is a slide for you to understand what are the behaviors of parent and children and what are the feelings of parents and children. So the child behavior could be the child is feeling distressed but doesn't communicate. And how does the parent feel? Anxious and sad. Or the child refuses to change undesirable behavior. How do parents then feel? Helpless, anxious. Or parents do not trust their child. How does the child feel? Sad. Or they put too much pressure on the child to succeed. How does the child feel? Anxious, inadequate, frustrated, and angry. Now, why family therapy? In view of all the problems mentioned above, you have a vague idea that family therapy is essential. But what is the underlying rationale for family therapy? Well, when one member has pain, which shows up in symptoms, the entire family feels this pain. Moreover, are you aware that there may be problems in the relationships within family members, thereby necessitating family therapy? Family acts to maintain homeostasis. So if one member changes, do you know that the other members act either covertly or overtly to maintain the family balance? Now, even if the child is the one with the problem, we got to involve the parents because the marital relationship is the axis around which all relationships revolve. So, a pained marital relationship will produce dysfunctional parenting. Did you know that family members sometimes interfere with the treatment? Yes, they do. And therefore, we need them to be supportive. And the one way they can be supportive is to involve them in family therapy. With all due respect to the men in this group, we have noticed that fathers abscond from therapy. And the only way to get fathers involved in treatment is to say, your son needs you, your daughter needs you. We cannot conduct therapy without your presence. What are some of the problems addressed when you go for family therapy? Maybe illness of a family member, loss of a family member, addictions, or maybe conflicts in the family, problems in communication, unrealistic expectations, parenting issues. And now we come to one of the most important and profound therapies, family therapy, that is Virginia Satir's conjoined family therapy. She's brilliant in the field of family therapy, and she has told us that the family member who carries the predominant symptom becomes the identified patient. All the others will suffer in the family, but one person at that point in time who's showing the symptoms becomes the identified patient. And what are the symptoms signaling? The symptoms are actually an SOS regarding his parents' pain and the resulting family imbalance. Now, she distinguished between dysfunctional couples and functional couples. Remember, I had told you that the marital relationship is the axis around which all relationships revolve. So let us take a look at dysfunctional couples for us to know what is the start of the family degenerating. So dysfunctional couples have low self-esteem. They feel they have nothing to give to the relationship. They are threatened if their partner is different from them. They do not know how to resolve conflicts. They criticize each other, denigrate, vacillate, postpone. They engage in what is called covert communication. They can't ask directly, they ask covertly. The wife wants to go out to eat. She doesn't say, I want to go out to eat. Can you come with me? She tells the husband, do you want to go out to eat? Then I'll come along with you. That's called covert asking or covert accusation. People are not there in this house to listen to me. Instead of saying, I feel sad when you do not listen to me. They criticize each other, disparage each other, and the child gets trapped in the whole situation because he becomes either an ally, a messenger, a pacifier. Look in contrast how the functional couples are. They have high self esteem. They feel that they are in this relationship not only to receive, but also to give. They appreciate differentness and they look at it as a sign of uniqueness. They resolve conflicts appropriately, maybe via compromise, maybe via negotiation. They engage in open communication, have deep bond with each other, and they help their children to view their partner with respect and in a very, very positive manner. Now, you might be curious to know which child becomes the identified patient. There may be 5 children in the family. Why does one child get affected? Well, the first thing, it could be the attributes of the child. Maybe the child is handicapped, the child is disabled, the child is unattractive, the child has low intelligence, and the parent's self esteem gets lowered as a consequence of that. And therefore, they target this particular child. Or maybe the parent herself had a problem when she was the middle child in her family of origin, and so she targets the middle child in her family. A child of a particular sex may be targeted. Young children are often targeted because they are very dependent on the parents. And teenagers are also targeted because they are struggling to wean themselves from parental control. Now, which conditions produce stress? There are 3 conditions that have to be fulfilled. Number 1, double level messages over time. What are double level messages? Contradictory messages being given to the child. For example, the father pulls up the son and calls it defiance when he has told his son over and over again to stand up to him as a man. Now the child is very confused. Now those parents have survival significance. They are important for him. He can't live without them. And he has been conditioned not to question the parents and not to challenge the parents. So under these conditions, he is likely to become what is called an identified patient. Communication, as you know, means interaction and transaction. And I think everyone is aware of the fact that we must communicate clearly if we have got to get the information we need from others, or if we have to give the information accurately to others. So what goes wrong in communication at times? Sometimes words can have different meanings. If I ask you, what class are you in? If you're a younger person, you don't know whether I'm referring to the level that I'm studying in or whether I'm talking about my socioeconomic status. Sometimes we assume one instance is an example of all. I hear many people say, all women are gossipy. When we assume that other people share one's feelings, thoughts, and perceptions, how can you like fish? We may ask somebody, as though that person has to like only the dish that we like. We sometimes dichotomize things as black and white. She either loves me or not. We send incomplete messages. He's very, Sometimes there's a vague use of pronouns. We went and they got upset. Who went? Who got upset? Nobody knows. And sometimes there's meta communication. What is meta communication? It is a message about a message. So if my husband tells me the dog is on the couch, there is a message beneath this message. What is he trying to tell me? Get him out? Why did you bring him in the first place? Take him out of the couch immediately. This is called meta communication, a message about a message. And then very often we have incongruent messages where one verbal message may contradict, for example, a non-verbal one, where the wife says, "Come here, darling," and when the husband comes close to her, she stiffens. How does the therapist start his therapy? He first opens therapy, finds out what is the conflict in the family or the problem in the family. He asks the family members what they expect of therapy. He orients them with respect to the nature of therapy. And then later on, he starts his therapy. But before he starts the therapy, he gives the family hope. He kindles hope in that family. And then he ascertains the family life chronology. So he asks the couple, how did you view your parents? How did you view your partners as couple? How do you view your partner as a parent? Then he asks the children, how do you view your parents? If you notice, almost all children are included in therapy. If the child is younger than 4, then we include them for only 2 sessions. If the child is between 4 to 21 years of age, we include them for most of the sessions. And if the child has crossed 21, almost all sessions, except the first 2, which are focusing only on the couple. And then we use a diversity of techniques. We can show the individual how he looks to others. You seem to want to be friends with him, but you don't act the way you say you feel. Or he builds self-esteem. You are a responsible person. Or he asks what each member can do to bring pleasure to another. What can you do, Joe, that you know ahead of time will bring pleasure to mom and dad? He ensures that no one speaks for others. Let John speak. You are not an authority on John. He relates silence to covert controls. You looked at mom. You felt she didn't want you to speak. And then he interprets anger as hurt. When dad looks angry, he feels pain inside. He shows that the pain and forbidden are all right to look at. So Roger was adopted. What did mother tell you about it? Why weren't you able to tell Roger this? He restores patients' feelings of accountability. Why did you give authority over you away? He questions people about their roles. You wear 3 hats: individual, marital, and parental. I see only the parental cap. What about the other 2? And then he spells out non-verbal communication. Patty, I see you taking dad's hand. Are you saying you are sympathizing with dad? He shows how past models influence present behavior. Your mother handled money that way. How could you have learned other ways? And finally, we come to the termination of Virginia Satir's therapy, where people can complete transactions, they can check, they can ask, they can interpret hostility, they can see how others see them, they can tell another what they hope for, fear, expect, they can disagree, they can make choices, they can learn through practice, they can free themselves from the harmful effects of past models, and they can give a clear message and be congruent in their communication. And now I have the second most beautiful therapy called emotion focused therapy. This is another way of managing families and conducting therapy for families. It was given to us by Sue Johnson and you may call him Leslie Greenberg. It's an approach that focuses on how individuals send emotional signals to family members, and then how this emotion becomes the music of their interactional dance. Okay, you can see the picture over there on the slide, which is showing you 2 people dancing. So they use choreography as one of the concepts in this therapy. It is an attachment approach. So it assumes that we have very deep needs for safe connection and contact. And when those needs are not met, my dear friends, we get stuck in very negative interactional patterns. And he says the dance music gets very complicated. Did you know that babies have to first become dependent in order to become independent? Yes. They have to turn to other people, reach out for them, know how to connect with others in order to build their sense of self. Now, did you realize that even adults have to focus on effective dependency? Because the more they turn to others, the more they trust others, the better they feel about themselves, the stronger they are, and they are more able to take autonomous decisions. Now, Bowlby gave us 4 types of attachment, and you can figure out what type of attachment position you are coming from. There is the secure attachment, where people are very loving, very trusting, they are very articulate about their needs, their feelings, their vulnerabilities, they are secure. And then we have an avoidant attachment. They do not wish to articulate their needs, their feelings, and their vulnerabilities. In fact, they deny their need for attachment and they solve problems in a very dispassionate manner. They don't realize the negative impact they are having on others. And then we have people with anxious attachment. They blame people in order to engage them, and they demand reassurance and attachment from others. And finally, we have the fearful, disorganized attachment. People who are traumatized and who have not really recovered from it may experience this fearful, disorganized attachment, where they vacillate between attachment on the one hand and hostility on the other. Now, this is something very interesting for you because one more time, it can give you insight into yourself. There are 4 types of emotional responses. The first is the primary adaptive one. These are the initial emotional responses to a stimulus: sadness, anger, and fear. Do you know that sadness is a very normal, valid emotion? It helps you to connect with something that's missing in your life. And anger is also a normal emotion because it helps you to take assertive action at whatever is violating you. And fear is also a normal reaction because it helps you to escape or avoid a threatening situation. Right now, our fear of getting COVID is encouraging all of us to wear our masks and maintain distance. And then we have the primary maladaptive response. What is happening over here? The person does have an initial emotional response to the stimulus, but it is based on schemas that are no longer appropriate. Children who are traumatized may come from this type of emotional response. So these children will be very sad at the happiness of others, or they may be very angry when people show caring towards them, and people get very confused. Maybe they were abused when they were young. Somebody enticed them and somebody showed superficial caring, and it was followed by violation. So now they don't trust anyone. And then we have the secondary reactive reactions, where people first react with their primary emotional response, and then they replace it with a secondary reaction. So maybe the child who is abused experiences pain and violation, but then he replaced it with helplessness, hopelessness, and despair. Many of us may feel that we are angry with our anger and frightened about our fear. That is an escalation of the primary emotional response. Some of us are well aware that we use fear to cover up our anger, and we use anger to cover up our sadness. That's a defense against our primary emotional response. And some of us use instrumental responses. Instrumental responses are the effects that we know we have on people. For example, children engage in what is called crocodile tears. They know that by crying, they can get the attention of others. And similarly, there is fake hostility and fake fear as well. I have brought a therapy transcript for you all to understand how therapy actually takes place. Alex, mom asked me a lot of questions about what I'm going to do with my life, and I do answer her. But a few days later, she's asking me the same questions. Therapist, all these questions coming your way regarding your future, and you answer them, and then she asks again, is that right? Alex, yes, it's so frustrating because it's like, does she not remember? Therapist, I can understand your frustration because you wonder, isn't what I say important enough to remember? Isn't that right? Alex, yes, that's exactly right. Therapist. When your mom asks the same question, what happens inside you? What do you say to yourself? Alex, I hear myself saying, what's the point? I get frustrated. Therapist, are you feeling frustrated right now? Alex, yes. Therapist, do you notice this frustration somewhere in your body? Alex, I feel tightening in my chest and in my shoulders. Therapist, and then what does this frustrated part want to do or say to mom? Alex, it wants to avoid her. Therapist, how do you do that? Alex, by ignoring her and eventually leaving the room. Therapist, what would happen if you stayed and talked with her? Alex, I will only disappoint her again. There's no point. Therapist, so if talking makes it worse and you worry that you will disappoint her, then it makes sense that you do not want to engage. Alex, that seems to be the best option right there and then. Therapist, it makes sense to me that you leave the conversation to avoid making things worse between the two of you and not disappoint your mom. Do you think your mom knows this? Can you tell her so? Alex, turning to mom, I do not get into it with you and I walk away because I do not want us to fight and I do not want to disappoint you. Mom, I had no idea. Therapist, yes, this is something new you are learning about Alex. Now, therapist to mom. And when he walks away, what happens to you? Mom, I get fired up and I follow him. And I insist that he listens to me and not ignore me. Therapist, do you notice this part that gets fired up somewhere in your body? Mom, I feel tense all over. Therapist, you see, Alex walks away. You get very angry, which you notice as tension all over your body. Is that right? Mom, yes. Therapist, and then what does this angry part do or say to Alex? Mom, it is very focused, very energized, and follows him relentlessly. Therapist, what would happen if you did not do that? Mom, I would not know what he's up to. I worry he'll make a mistake, but he doesn't value my input. Therapist, you want Alex to value your advice. So you get angry and you insist on engaging in a conversation in the hopes that you help him see the value in what you say. Is that right? Mom, that's right. Therapist, what does it feel like when you think that Alex does not value you? Mom, it feels sad. Therapist, you want him to value you and your input, and when he does not, that makes you feel sad. Is that right? Mom, in a soft voice, yes. Therapist, do you think Alex knows that? What would it be like to share a little bit of that with him? That underneath your anger, you feel sad because you think he does not value you. Can you tell him that? I brought the transcript because now it becomes very simple for you to know the steps in therapy. So, in the first step of engagement, the therapist has a warm, comfortable, understanding relationship with the client. And what he's trying to do is identify briefly the major conflicts, the attachment position, and the interactional patterns. And then in the assessment and diagnosis phase, he actually makes a diagnosis. And each member in the family acknowledges how they are contributing to that problem. The third one is the most important, reframing interactional styles. Over here, he asks the members to unearth their vulnerable feelings which they have not acknowledged. He tells people it's very easy to show anger and rage, very difficult to express sadness, fear, grief, guilt, and shame. And he says when one person gets angry, what does the other person do? The other person can either disengage and lapse into silence or might re engage and get angry. Both strategies end in disaster. He says, do you know that the person who's critical, in the sense that critical and arguing, etc., may deep down be suffering from panic, suffering from sadness, experiencing fear of rejection and abandonment? And did you know that the person who's very silent and keeps withdrawing is actually feeling within himself a lot of anger, intimidation, inadequacy, helplessness? Phase is to unearth all those unacknowledged vulnerable feelings. And then we go to the choreographing change, where we are going to now use a little bit of choreography and change these participants So the withdrawn people are asked to talk about their emotional experiences, their attachment desires. And the critical people are asked to listen to them and then voice their emotional experiences and their attachment desires. So, what happens in the meanwhile? Those who are critical get softened, and those who are withdrawn get more engaged. And then we come to the last stage, that is emotional engagement, where the therapist is happy, the couples and the family members have made the respective changes. He points out where changes can still be made, and he serves as a model for them. In the termination phase, they are far more empathetic towards each other. They're far more flexible. There's a high degree of connectedness. Every member in the family is showing their vulnerable feelings, and there is a decrease in negative patterns of interaction. A few techniques that a therapist may use. One is called empathetic reflection. I hear you say that you become so anxious about your son's future that you find yourself wanting to control him because not having a say is so overwhelming. Is that it? And then you become very critical with your son. Is that right? Validation, therapist. That makes sense to me. When you feel that things are about to escalate between you and your mom, you go away and you avoid any conversation. Is that right? Tracking and reflecting interactions. Therapist. So when Alex gets frustrated and walks away, ignoring what you say, you get angry too and follow him. You need him to listen to you. And when your mom follows you around, wanting your attention, it makes you shut down even more. Reframing. Therapist, you don't experience that the louder she gets, the more desperately she's trying to find you. It sounds as if she's upset with you, but she's doing everything she can to get close to you. Evocative responding. Therapist, what's happening right now as you hear him say that? What's it like for you when she follows you around the house, pushing for your attention? Heightening. Therapist, this sounds really important. Can we stay here for a bit? I think I hear you say that deep down you really go to a bad place, a place where you get the message that you are nothing but a failure in their eyes, a real disappointment for a son, and that makes you feel so sad, so hurt inside. And now the slide is focusing on you, my dear participants. These are the points to ponder. How do or how did I view my mother and father? Are there some positive, desirable qualities I picked up from them? Are there some negative qualities that I picked up from them that I need to discard? How was the communication in my family? Have I learned that communication should be open, direct, clear, and congruent? Do I realize that showing vulnerable feelings to people significant in my life can enrich my life as my needs for attachment, contact, and caring can get fulfilled? And now for the last slide, I've just made up a little poem. Our family is torn with conflict and fight, each one showing their importance and might. What we need is to accept each other, mother, father, sister, and brother. True, we all have our limitation and fault, but our uniqueness is appealing, just like salt. What we should strive for is giving and receiving love, and of course, spiritual blessings from above. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maida, for your professional presentation. Characteristics of healthy families, complaints, why therapy, dysfunctional family, and also you really brought out Virginia Satter's conjoined family therapy and emotional focused therapy. Your approach was really cognitive, emotional, and relational, professional, psychotherapeutic, prophetic, and personal self-examination time. And you reminded us that there is scientific help available and we are inspired. Let's make use of it. Techniques and tools are available for all. there is emotional distance, and also we need to build up a personality of attachment from individuation and separation. I'm reminded of your presentation, this quote from Maslow: if you only have a hammer as your tool, you tend to see every problem as a nail. So you have brought before us a lot of very, very practical, very professional, very psychological tools for all of us. And also, there's preventive, promotive, and curative aspects of family wellness were so beautifully presented by you. On behalf of all the participants, I thank you so much and congratulate you. And let's give her a big hand.
Thank you.
And now the floor is open for all the participants. As I reminded you, you can say your name and you introduce yourself in one sentence and put the question to the panelists. If you remember the name, Father, first presentation was by Father Benny, and second by Kurian, and third was by Dr. Almeida. So let's start. Father Joshi also will help managing the techie aspects, right?
Shall I?
Yes, Father. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It's not a question. Now it's a kind of a puzzle to Dr. Almeida. You see, you spoke beautifully about the therapy. Now, some of the concerns in our society. Suppose I sent my child or my brother for a therapy. Immediately, people start interpreting. Oh, in that family, there is seriously there is trouble. So, how to get rid of that kind of shame or a kind of taboo? Do you have any proposal for that? How to get rid? Because this is a real problem in the society.
Okay. So are you addressing this question to me, Father?
Yeah. Yes.
To Dr. Almeida.
Yeah. So definitely education is the key to the problem that you are indicating. When you educate people, now I'm the counselor at St. Xavier's College. When I first started counseling, I would have one student in a day coming to me, one student in 2 days coming to me because, it's a stigma. We can't go to this counselor. People are seeing us going into her room. After some time, the stigma started reducing because we had education programs for each levels. We told them you are not weak when you go for counseling. Counseling is a sign of strength. Counseling is a sign of courage because you are doing something proactive for yourself. And if you're feeling impaired and you come for counseling, it can change your life. You can be less miserable, more functional, more productive. So we need to clarify the myths and misconceptions. Education is the key. And as one person after the other comes for counseling, they give each other courage. Today, there is no problem of stigma in St. Xavier's College where I'm counseling. I've got hordes of people not only coming to me personally, but online counseling as well. So education, we have to move into schools, colleges, the communities, educate them, okay, reduce the myths, challenge those misconceptions, and move on. Has that answered your question, Father?
Yes and no. Because the yes is in the university. For example, we are from a university, Christ University.
Right.
There are professional counselors and psychotherapists, and all the students must is a part of their schedule. They should meet counselor. That system is in place. But in society at large, there is no such system. Whom you are going to educate? My neighbor?
Well, the community.
That's a practice.
The small.
Yeah, but you know the Indian scenario. Indian scenario, the majority of the people, they don't have access to any such thing. So therefore, that's my yes. Yeah.
Yes, Father. Yes, I really feel the concern. Yeah, and that is the greatest challenge that we face, especially in Wardha, a place like Wardha, which is rather a rural setup. It's a real challenge. Therefore, we need to have programs such as what we are having now, and also public programs to educate the public. Once the public is educated, once the public is getting that kind of a consciousness, that kind of an awareness that there is nothing wrong in approaching a psychologist or psychotherapist when they have some mental problems, as easily we approach a medical practitioner when we have some physical ailments. This awareness is to be brought, and that is the greatest challenge before all of us. Yeah. Your concern is a genuine concern. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I have one point to make over here. You know who's the most excellent ambassador of counseling? The people who have gone through counseling themselves. They go on, because this is what's happening in many of the organizations that I'm associated with. One person goes for counseling, then one person feels helped. Then she sees someone in distress, so she moves into that and tells her, there is a counseling center. I was feeling like you. I went for counseling. I got the help. Please go for counseling and get help.
True, ma'am. Very much true.
In short, more and more people get counseling, more and more it spreads. They are the best ambassadors of counseling, in addition to education that I mentioned above.
Yes, Father. Thank you, Dr. Maida, and thank you for the Korean. Next.
Yeah, Father. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Father Salim. I am a student of Father Kurian Kachapalli.
Oh, great.
So my question goes to him only.
You want to question him always, sir? Even outside the class.
Yeah, you can ask anybody, Salim. Actually, Father, it's not actually a question. I like to get to more point. That's why. My point is, Father, you were talking about the changes and challenges. So I thought that you could add one more point, that balancing between work and family life. So the couple, when my mother never went, or the ladies of my mother also hardly went to the office to work. But today, hardly anybody is not going. So now people are not able to have the balance between family life and work. Therefore, there's a change also has taken place and challenge also has come. So can you further address this issue, how young couples can understand or how to balance between work and family life? And when they realize by the time they have got 2 children and children are out of control and they have failed as a parents.
Thank you, Salim Pushparaj. There is no one definitive answer. I know some of the practices. In our earlier days, for example, my mother was a typical housewife, and she had plenty of time at home in spite of all the household affairs done by her. But today, for example, my sister is employed, husband is employed. But one advantage, they have their grandpa and grandma at home. That's one. But in Europe, Salim Pushparaj, there is a rule that the new mothers, they can't work for a few years. They are given longer time of what they say maternity leave and extra, of course with the social security. That system is not in place in India. Therefore, to strike a balance between the affairs of the house and that of the office, it's not very easy, although it is advocated that there should be some sort of balancing act, but not very easy. Now, how to do that depends on the mutual understanding of the couples and the children from family to family. That's only my, of course, otherwise government should bring such a system. For example, I have heard my mama in Belgium telling, she was a nurse. Once she got married, when she had the first child, she was asked to discontinue as a nurse. And she couldn't work for 15 years. Then when all the 4 children, she had 4 children, then when they became to some extent grown up, then only government allowed her to work again. But that system is not in India.
Thank you, Father Gideon. Adding to that, we should have the promotive dimension of family wellness. And we all know that the best time to repair your roof is when there is sunshine. So I think there are a lot of conscientization, awareness programs in the mental health field, especially in the family wellness, is needed, and things are changing. As a practicing counselor, I see people coming. Father, let's send them for a counseling. Is there any person competent and qualified for this? Even in a remote village where I'm working now.
Father.
Next.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Anthony.
Yes, Ajay.
Yeah. I am Ajish. I'm a student at Samvaad. My question is that like children face many problems at times, but when it comes to family therapy, it's hard to present a reason for a family therapy. So how can we present that reason for the, like, if a child is facing something, then how can we present it to the parents for a family therapy with a reason? Did you get my question?
Yeah. Yeah. Ajish, uh, are you asking me that question? Are you addressing it
Yeah,
to me?
it's open for all. Everybody can.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
please don't tell Maida.
Yeah, so I think I made it very clear right in the beginning why we have family therapy. The
Yeah.
marital relationship is the axis around which everything revolves. So if there's a pained marital relationship, there will be dysfunctional parenting. So if we don't get the parents and we only get the child, the parents will continue to do whatever they are doing in the family, and the child will not get healed.
The
Now
thing
we have
is,
to how to tell them.
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, sure.
The point I was trying to make is that the problems with the child needed, like, if a child is facing some depression or something, and the whole family is not able to support him in some or the other way.
Hmm.
That way, I was thinking, like, how can we put out a reason for a family therapy?
Okay, so what I normally tell if I do family therapy is that your child needs you for this particular therapy in order to heal. He needs the father and he needs the mother. Would you be willing to cooperate for this kind of therapy? Just dealing with the child cannot heal the child. Okay?
Yeah,
This
that's
child
it.
needs your presence. And when you tell the parents that they need your presence, the parents will definitely say yes. Just as you say, no, you need a tuition teacher, you need to teach your
Yeah.
child, then the parents say. So just say that the child
Yeah,
needs.
but in case of some parents, they have some problems. I have no time in this and that. Yeah, but how?
Okay, so then what we can do, no, Ajish, we can have marital counseling for the couple and we can take the child separately. And still,
Okay.
if we don't come for therapy, one last option is go ahead and take the child because the changes in the behavior of the child will bring about changes in other family members. That's the last alternative, not the best alternative. But these are alternatives open. To be very honest with you, your question is very valid because we find it very difficult to practice family therapy in an Indian setup. So much of our therapy is not necessarily family therapy. It should be, but because of time constraints, it becomes a problem. But if parents are willing to come, I think it's the best kind of therapy. We must keep bearing in mind the family.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Maida. Thank you, Ajish.
Can I come up with this question? I am Father Raju Joseph, Abukaran.
Okay, Father Raju. Varghese.
I am also a student of partially a student of our Korean and a good friend of him.
Correct.
I appreciate the Samvaad team and all the panelists for giving us a feeling again of our families. I know this is a more a psychological discussion, but as we remember Saint Chavara today, I also would like to bring another perspective, maybe a clarification, which is based on a legal doubt. Anyone could respond to me. I find a certain level of paradox in community morality and the present civil laws. You may disagree and correct me if I am wrong. The legal perspective of our world, I mean the legislations of various states and countries, including India, are going against the basic precepts and tenets of family. If you agree with me, in many areas, I will not be able
Yes,
to
Father.
write out just now many of them. The legal mind is more in favor of individualism, personal rights, child rights, and women's rights, etc. I do not undermine any of them. They are all important. I also work for them, but only wish to state that they are sometimes contrary to the family theories, which have made the world a peaceful place to live in. The civil laws sometimes are, to a certain extent, going against the family values. That is what I mean. Why does the civil society run paradoxically against the values of family? For example, the society has now approved cohabitation of adults with mutual consent. Why is this approved? When we all know, everyone, including the legislators, know that family values are important. Why the conscience of the world is not listened to by the legal mind? This is my doubt. Can someone respond to me?
Father Kurian?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Paraju. Yes, you see, it's a very complex question. You can't take out or call out one particular point to answer that. I would say, you see, we are talking about now two institutions. One is our family. Second is the society, which is a kind of wider family. Now, especially in the West, in USA, there is a kind of new trend where what traditionally we consider to be, I am using with the question that word immoral, has become morally right. For example, you mentioned cohabitation, or for example, some other examples. What could be that? Abortion is okay.
Legalized.
Is it legalized? And then same-sex marriage is legalized. Then single parent, that has become the common way. Now, when we look from a traditional family background, they are really a contradiction. But in the society in which we are, they don't see that. So that is one, the change of the mindset. Secondly, politicians play with these people because they want to get a mileage. Now, for the first time, when, for example, Ireland was a pure Catholic country, but there, when Mrs. Robinson became the president, they introduced the law whereby abortion became legal. And typical Catholic families questioned that. But what happened? For a wider political mileage, she said, no, we don't listen to that minority traditional family. So politicians also play with the family structure so much so they get an extra mileage. That's another reason. Third one, the adventurous spirit of the young people. That's why I say there's a conflict between the old and the new, what we call the new gen or the millennial or post-millennial people. They want to try. Raju correctly said there is a kind of individualistic spirit hovering over the new gen. So much so they want to do everything adventurous. Now, for a while, tomorrow they will rethink. Now there is a trend going backward where some of the tradition values are still brought back and cherished.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Kurian. Thank you, Father
Father Sebastian, there is a question from someone from Matthews. Matthews from DVH. He is a student there. Unfortunately, he leave the meeting bit early. Therefore, he has sent a question addressed to Father Dr. Benny.
Okay.
The question is something like this: how can we, being concerned with the issues of the gradual decadence of morality or moral corruptions that we face in our day-to-day life, how can we avoid such dangers and fight against the alternative narratives of the society that is emerging now? Father Benny?
Father Benny, yeah.
Thank you, Joshi. I was unemployed here, so for such a long time. Thank you very much.
You are given a job now.
Thanks, Sebastian. Now, I think the question comes from a little prejudiced mind. I'm not casting an aspersion on the mind of Matthew that there has taken place a social decadence. No, we are not facing a decadence, but there is a possibility that if we go down this line, we will face that. And that is why the parents are advised to be cautious as they bring the children up. And then if one perceives that there has taken place a social decadence in one part of the society, maybe Dr. Almeida is the one who is to treat that. And Samvaad is there. And I'm happy for these people. But I think the point that Saint Chavara makes here is to bring up children in a healthy family, and then how this family background, the family atmosphere has to be made healthy so that everything that grows there be healthy also. So I do not have much more to say, and this is the whole of the set of the precepts that he gives in the testament would be towards that. And then they work all together, especially in the modern day and age. All those precepts that he gives us from point 1 to the 40th one would be directed to this. He brings us anecdotes and similes and parables in order to illustrate all these points, both as a therapeutic method for the society, but also a cautionary method for the families. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Dr. Benny.
Father Sebastian, we are
Yes,
running
it's
out
time.
of time.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. So it
time
is.
constraint.
Thank
Maybe we
you. Can we
yeah.
one more? Can we give chance to one more person?
Yes, Father. We will accommodate one more question from anyone. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think nobody is there yet.
Okay, Father.
So,
Yeah. You can go ahead. Yeah.
it is my time to conclude our panel discussion. It is hard to conclude and summarize. The first paper, theological and pastoral and moral implications. Second one is sociological and phenomenological. Third one is psychological and psychotherapeutic. I want to pinpoint 4 points as a conclusion. First one is you must be well aware of what happened in Weinberg, a small town near industry city Stuttgart in Germany. During invasion from Conrad, the emperor, there lived very well-minded people there. And Conrad went into the old city and told them, I'm going to kill everyone. And women and children cried, and he gave an exception to the women. Take the most valuable things and get out of the old city in 10 minutes. So Conrad and his soldiers were waiting outside for the women to come out so that they can get in and kill the men there. And when these women came out, stop them. Why? There were no valuable things in their hands. Instead, they were holding the hands of their fathers, their sons, and their husbands, and told bravely to the Conrad, the emperor, these are the most valuable persons in our life. We need not have anything in our life as valuable. If you want to kill them, kill us also. This is not a story, but a historical tradition passed on. I think we need to take, first of all, personally, the value of each and every human person. I believe that Saint Chavara, in his 40 numbers, precepts and parenting styles, really again and again repeated, valuing the uniqueness and the richness of family. The second point is we are a team of educators, couples, persons, parents, therapists. According to Chavara, we are a team of relatives and friends. He cautions, he directs, he guides this small team. We need to work together more for a world of wellness for the family. Team is, as we all know, together everyone achieves miracles. Let me change it. Together everyone achieves miracles. As happened in Cana, we need to work as responsible relatives and faithful friends in this field of family. The third point I would like to bring is as persons, in each and every day and every moment, we can become a promotive and preventive tools for the wellness of human families all over, whether it is in village or city or in the west and the east. That is, I borrow these ideas from Maslow. Abraham Maslow, one of the pioneers of positive psychology, he tells, let people realize clearly that every time they threaten someone or humiliate or unnecessarily hurt or dominate or reject another human being, they become forces for the creation of psychopathology, even if these be small forces. So we have an option here whether we need to become a psychopathological force. I think this is very important in our preventive and promotive dimension of family wellness. And he tells we can be a psychotherapeutic force. Our words can be curative, preventive, and promotive because each and every word uttered. I think Saint Chavara has beautifully written about the bad words, loose talk, each one by one several times in his testament. Let them recognize that every person who is kind, helpful, decent, psychologically democratic, affectionate, and warm is a psychotherapeutic force, even though a small one. And this panel discussion for us was an invitation to become psychotherapeutic forces as a team. Concluding, the fourth point is from Chavara, the testament of a loving father, parent, educator, couple, therapist, psychologist. I am trying to elaborate the word family, 6-letter word. F stands for faith. Have faith in God, in oneself and others, and be faithful to each other. A, admit our own personal failures, accept the limitation of others, appreciate the hidden sources and treasures in others, and encourage. And make meaning in each and everything that we do, and motivate for better work, love, and work. I stands for inspire, ignite with intimacy. L, listen, learn, and lead and liberate. Last point is why. Why we do this? Why? We need to be eased without having anything else with our own personality. We can have, as it is Albert Schweitzer said, we all carry a doctor within us. Let's take that doctor out and heal ourselves. Dr. Melda and Dr. Benny and Dr. Kurian was repeatedly saying about this. What we should we do? We need to be eased in this stuff. And we need to inspire people as a team and yielding the fruits of the Holy Spirit. Yielding why? Love, joy, peace, patience, understanding, kindness, fidelity, gentleness, and self-control. So let's begin this from now on as we go ahead, working for a world of wellness for the family. Again, congratulating all the panelists, congratulating Dr. Joshi and his team at Samvaad, and thanking all the participants, especially for inviting me to moderate this session. Dr. Joshi, thank you. All the best. God bless us and our families and all the families in the world. Amen.
Thank you, Father Sebastian. Yes, dear friends, so we have come to the fag end of our panel discussion. So I take this opportunity to thank all of you. Yes. A very good morning once again to all my dear friends. I'm Dr. Joshi, the director of Samvaad, joining all of you on this fine morning in this highly informative and useful panel discussion. It gives me immense pleasure and joy to notice that the event has been so wonderfully rewarding experience for all of us. Yes, dear friends, we have been discussing about a highly important topic today, affecting the lives not only just a few of the people, but rather affecting all of us alike, affecting the very fabric of our human society, the very basic structure of human life, which is the family. As the panelists have effectively put it, family is the basic unit of human society, and anything affecting the family affects the human life too. Hence, the need for all of us to enhance the wellness of our families and empower all its members to contribute to the overall well-being of all stakeholders. With these concluding remarks, let me express my deep gratitude to all who have been, in one way or other, a part of this beautiful journey that we had today from 9 o'clock onwards. Let me begin with Reverend Dr. Benny Mughal CMI, the Provincial Superior, the CMI Marsama Province of Chanda, which owns and manages this institute Samvaad. From the very beginning, when we just had the first thought about this event in a very seminal form, he has been there with full support, encouragement, and crucial ideas and tips from time to time. And today, with those insightful and enriching inaugural words, he set the tone, so very efficiently initiated us into this panel discussion. Thank you very much, dear Dr. Benny, for your graciousness. Samvad will ever cherish this experience of having you as our mentor and guide always. Thank you very much. Now, let me express our appreciation and gratitude to the honorable panelists of the day. Reverend Dr. Benny Tati, the Provincial Superior of Bijnor. Reverend Dr. Kurian Kachakuli, the President of Dharmaram Vidya Kshetram Bangalore. And respected Dr. Nirmala Almeida, the consultant and psychotherapist from Mumbai. All the three of you made our day a wonderful, and we really had a wonderful learning experience. Your expositions of the topics, your sharing of the wisdom, and the gracious interactions during the panel discussion gave us great insights and deep knowledge. We are deeply indebted to you, Dr. Benny, Dr. Kurian, and Dr. Nirmala. I should make a special mention of my friend and fellow priest, the moderator of our event today, Reverend Dr. Sebastian Putin, the president of the Association of Psychological Counselors and Animators. His enthusiasm, his deep knowledge, and the efficient management made our day. I have no enough words to express our gratitude to you, dear Father Sebastian. Samvad will ever remain grateful to you, dear Father. Thank you very much, dear Father. Yes, you are benevolent. Yes, Father. Thanks are due to our technical and organizing staff as well. This event is the fruit of their unconditional commitment, unbeatable enthusiasm, and matchless hard work. I remember with a deep sense of gratitude my collaborators and co-workers, Reverend Father Raju Avukaran, at whose place I am conducting this program. Dr. Major, my good friend and collaborator, who so very magnanimously anchored today's proceedings. And we have Master Justin and Master Sanju, who were attending to the technological aspects like live streaming of the event and other technological matters. I am short of words to express my sentiments of gratitude to you, my dear friends. Thanks a million. And finally, yes, you, my dear participants of the event. Without you, this panel discussion would not have been possible today. Your enthusiasm and efforts to learn and to know is very, very encouraging. All who have joined us today during this event, both on Google Meet and on YouTube Live, we, from the part of Samvad, express our appreciation and gratitude. We look forward to have you in our future events as well. Once again, sincere thanks to one and all. Thank you very much. With this, we end this panel discussion. Let us honor our patrons and Chavara, whose Jayanti we are celebrating today, and in whose honor we have this panel discussion on family wellness with a hymn as Chavara Vandanam, which is being played electronically. Thanks one and all.
Thank you, Father. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Father Joshi?
One minute, Father.
Yeah.
राम के सुनहरा फूल गाते हैं हम जय गान तेरा। करमला राम के सुनहरा फूल गाते हैं हम जय गान तेरा। नतमस्तक हम करते नमन आशीष बरसे पुण्य पिता चावरा। नतमस्तक हम करते नमन आशीष बरसे पुण्य पिता चावरा। करमला राम के सुनहरा फूल गाते हैं हम जय गान तेरा। अध्यात्म गीतों से इस धरा को नव चेतना से तूने संवारा। अध्यात्म गीतों से इस धरा को नव चेतना से तूने संवारा। दर्शन भवन से नई राह दिखाई। दर्शन भवन से नई राह दिखाई। भारत के नभ का उज्जवल तारा। करमला राम के सुनहरा फूल गाते हैं हम जय गान तेरा। करमला राम के सुनहरा फूल गाते हैं हम जय गान तेरा।
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, one and all. Have a nice day. God bless.
Once again, doctors, thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Pabini.